everyone, we all know that some computer parts can be incompatible with each other. For example, you could have a graphics card that's not compatible with a case because it's too big. But if you have a random power supply unit lying around, or maybe you've just bought one in a sale, is that guaranteed to be compatible with your motherboard? And the short answer is yes, it probably is, although there's one or two caveats which I'll discuss in a minute. And the reason it probably is compatible is that actually the ATX standards that govern both motherboards and also power supply units haven't changed in a very, very long time. So even if you had quite a modern motherboard and you do a build with, the CPU and the RAM and the CPU cooler and then like an NVMe, if you just shove this in, then you actually only need two PSU cables. You need your CPU power cable and your motherboard power cable. And that's it. That's all you actually need for that particular build, assuming then you're relying on integrated graphics. So actually, if you have some random mainstream PSU, then that is guaranteed to actually be compatible with your motherboard, even if it's a really old PSU. However, there are some caveats to that. So firstly, if you've got an ATX power supply unit, so in other words, a full-size one, that's not actually guaranteed to fit inside a small form factor case, because some of them actually need an SFX or SFXL PSU. So actually you could end up in a situation where you've got an ATX PSU and that won't fit inside the case. I mean, it'll then be compatible with the motherboard, the mini ITX motherboard. So if you were to like mod the case or buy a new case, then it would be compatible with the motherboard. But you just need to be aware that not all PSUs will actually fit inside every single case. But if you've got, a micro ATX case or a full tower ATX case, that's almost guaranteed to fit with an ATX PSU. The second thing you need to be aware of is that an older power supply unit might not actually support 12 volt power natively, so it might not have a 12 volt power or 12 volt 2x6 slot on the actual PSU, and it might not come with any cables for that, and as a result, if you've got a modern NVIDIA graphics card, that might not actually work. Although luckily what usually happens is those more modern graphics cards come with an adapter in the box that you can then put standard 8-pin PCI Express power into. So even in those cases, even if you've got like a random older PSU, you should be able to still use that to power your GPU. So that is worth knowing. That brings me on to my next point, which is that you might not have enough free PCI Express cables for your actual build. So for example, some older PSUs might only come with 2 PCI Express cables, but it might be that actually your graphics card needs 2 cables, and then you might have a fan hub that requires a third PCI Express connection. So actually in that particular case, even though your PSU is compatible with your motherboard, it might not be compatible with your build as a whole if you've got, higher power graphics cards and fan hubs and things like that. The final thing you should be aware of is if you've got a really proprietary PSU from like Dell, for example, and then use it in a modern build, that might not work. But in every other situation, it should work absolutely fine. I just wanted to cover all those caveats, but in general, a fairly modern PSU made in the last 10 to 15 years should work fine with, any build, to be honest. And it certainly will be compatible with the motherboard because, like the 8-pin and the 24-pin connections, they haven't changed in a very long time. And that wraps up this short video. If you've got any more questions, please drop me a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up button and please subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for watching.